What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? My name is Dr. Film, and welcome to my review of Venom. Directed by Ruben Fleischer, the casting of the film is Tom Hardy, Michelle Williams, and Riz Ahmed. And just to clarify, this movie has no connection to the MCU whatsoever. Or is it? But first, before we go on to the review, I'd just like to say something.
Spoilers ahead. If you haven't seen the movie, we are going to eat both of your arms, both of your legs. We're going to eat your face right off your head. You're going to be this armless, legless, faceless thing rolling down the street like a turd in the wind.
As soon as I heard that Tom Hardy was being cast as Eddie Brock, I agreed with their decision because, honestly, I could see him as Eddie Brock. He was fully committed to his role as Eddie Brock, and he was terrific. And the CGI modern update and the design of Venom looks promising. It actually looks like from the comics. But the only downside is that both of these characters, Eddie Brock and Venom, barely have an introduction. I know what you're thinking. I mean, we're familiar with this character. He's from the comics and such. But what about for those who don't know these characters at all? It will leave some audiences feel confused and questioning themselves what led them to who they are now. Michelle Williams playing as Eddie Brock's ex-girlfriend didn't come out as annoying or useless. I mean, she did help out Venom at the ending of the film. I thought she was a good addition to the film. Also, my favorite part is where she turns into She-Venom. Yeah, in case you didn't know, in the comics, Eddie Brock's ex-girlfriend does become She-Venom. And it was awesome, man! But it only lasted for a few minutes. Total letdown. The antagonist of the film is... Okay, I just gotta be honest with you. He doesn't make a lick of sense. Look, I understand his point of view. He's like, oh, trying to make the world a better place. Oh, he's seeing himself as a god. He doesn't care who lives or dies. Gee, I wonder if we haven't seen that story arc before. And to be fair, I just don't see Riz Ahmed as the antagonist. I just feel like he's just some guy pretending to be this big corporate boss while his real boss is away on vacation. In fact, most of the dialogue in this film is pretty horrendously weird or odd. For instance, remember when the head of the Security of Life Foundation was talking to Eddie and he was strapped to this chair and he said, "I'm gonna rip your tongue out." Dude, why does he talk like that? Look, I know Venom threatened him to eat his pancreas, lungs, and eyes, but does he have to talk like that as if he's a cartoon character? Which is pretty weird. Now, in case you don't know, the storyline is based on a 6-issue comic book called Lethal Protector, where in the comics, Venom moves from New York to San Francisco, but finds himself against 5 new symbiotes from the Life Foundation, such as Scream, Phage, Lasher, Agony, and the one and only, Riot. When I heard that they were going for this idea, I was like, this could work. I mean, it's only about Venom facing off other symbiotes. I mean, this probably could work. But I was wrong. In fact, the filmmakers only included Riot throughout the majority of the film, and he barely does anything at all. The action in this film was okay, but there's one sequence that I liked, which was the car chase sequence, where Venom is trying to protect Eddie from all kinds of danger, like gunmen and cars and remote-controlled drones. Why does the Life Foundation have them? What is their purpose? The rest of the action isn't quite memorable. For instance, the climactic showdown between Venom and Riot. And I'm just gonna say, it's painful to watch. I mean, it is an example of bad CGI effects. You can barely tell what's going on. It's just too blurry, and it makes you nauseous sometimes. But there's one scene that I didn't quite understand was where Venom, before he fights Riot, he says to Eddie that he will protect Earth and help him. All because of him.
Because of you, Eddie. Because of you. I want you.
Now, of course, the post-credits scene, where we're introduced to Cassidy, the psychopathic killer, played by Woody Harrelson. And I just gotta say, he looks ridiculous. I mean, what's with that perm? And what makes it odd is how he says it. When I get out here, and I will, there's gonna be carnage. Really? There's gonna be carnage? The filmmakers had opportunities to develop new ideas, awesome and memorable moments for this movie to stand out. But instead, we got weird acting, hokey dialogue, and not so great action sequences. I give Venom a 6.5 out of 10.
Hey everybody, my name is Dr. Venom, and I'm not qualified to be a doctor. Today, in this video, we're taking a look at a new Marvel anticipated movie that everybody's been waiting for, and that is Venom, Let There Be Carnage! Let's start this review by talking about our chaotic duo, Eddie Brock and Venom, played by Tom Hardy. He was funny and he did so well with his performance, convincing us that he's talking to Venom alone. And as for his portrayal as Venom, what can I say? He still got it.
The chocolate delivery hasn't arrived yet.
No!
We had a deal.
What's gonna happen? You gonna stop protecting me?
I am happy to eat, Mrs. Chen!
No, you cannot eat, Mrs. Chen. What? Nothing?
However, I have to admit, there isn't anything else interesting about this character, especially his character arc. I mean, he did have a character arc at the beginning of the film, but that got resolved in like 2 minutes. And then we spend the majority of our time with these two bickering and complaining with each other, which drags on until Cassidy escapes from prison. So yeah, as much as fun this character was, I really couldn't take him seriously, and sometimes he could come off a bit annoying. And speaking of Cassidy, we have Carnage, played by Woody Harrelson. And I'm just gonna say it, I don't think he was a great villain. Woody Harrelson, in my opinion, seems like the perfect casting choice for this role. He has the hair, the mannerism, and the creepy dialogue. But what the filmmakers failed with this character is his motivation. In the comics, Cassidy is a sociopath, a sadist, who kills people because he thinks it's art or pleasure to him. But in this film, he only seems to care about getting back with his girlfriend, Shriek. Now yes, Carnage and Shriek are a thing in the comics, but here's the thing. In the comics, Carnage only saw her as an instrument, or an ally to use against Spider-Man or any other superheroes. Nothing more. But in here, he's a freaking love puppy! And let's be honest here, the only reason Shriek is in this film is to give Venom an advantage to win against Carnage. I'm sorry to be brutal, but that's the truth. To sum up, they handled Carnage in this film poorly. Now for the action. The action was intense, entertaining, and the fight between Venom and Carnage was satisfying as heck. And it was definitely an improvement from the fight scene with Riot from the last movie, because that particular fight scene was a bit... I can't find the right word for it. But here's the problem though. The action doesn't start until we get to the second act. And what's crazy is that there are a total of 3 action scenes in a 1 hour and 30 minute runtime. 3 action scenes? What?
What?
They really couldn't come up with any creative action scenes to fill in the first half? Why couldn't they have shown us a scene or two of Venom being a vigilante, which was teased at the end of the first film? Oh, and don't get me started on how they concluded the fight between Venom and Carnage, especially what happened to Cassidy. I mean, it was dumb. Now for the story. Oh boy. This story has a lot of issues. For instance, the uneven pacing, the quick fast editing, lack of character growth, questionable plot decisions. I could keep going, but the one thing that bugged me the most in this film is the tone of the story. It constantly switches back and forth between humor and seriousness. And even when Cassidy escapes from prison, you wouldn't be afraid for our main character's life, because the tone is still trying to be kid-friendly. Why did the filmmakers even bother bringing Carnage into the sequel if they're not going to take him or this story seriously? We're talking about the same character, known to be the sickest and vilest villain in Marvel Comics history. Trust me, you don't want to know the things he's done. Look, if they weren't planning on rating this movie rated R, then that's fine, but they should have at least given us an emotional and epic story. It was right at their fingertips! It was right there! In fact, do you remember another comic book movie that is also rated PG-13? A movie that gave us great character development, horrifying suspense, and great in-depth of what it means to live in a world of order and chaos. Yes, I'm talking about Christopher Nolan's The Dark Knight. Boom! Mic drop!
You'll see. I'll show you.
You either die a hero, or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain.
Overall, my friends, while I like the action and the dynamic between Eddie Brock and Venom, I still can't ignore that this film has child's play humor, a poor depiction of Carnage, and a baffling narrative. To tell you the truth, guys, this film isn't an improvement nor is it worse than the last film. It is just the same as it was before. It is only there to give us Carnage and to get us excited for the future of Venom. For what it's worth, I did get excited when I saw that post-credit scene. I can't tell you what it was, but let me tell you, it was awesome, and I got really excited. But as for the film, I'm glad I got the chance to watch it. Sorry, that's really all I got right now. Venom, Let There Be Carnage scores a 6.5 out of 10.
Wait, before you go, here's a little sneak peek of Dr. Film's new review. Enjoy.
Hey guys, my name is Dr. Film, and yes, I'm qualified to be a doctor of movies.
Is that so?
Today in this video, I'm reviewing a new Marvel movie called
Venom, The Last Stand.
Now, first things first, Tom Hardy did a pretty good job with all things considered. Despite his age, he still captures that same likable personality that we all recognize. Although, some of his lines can be pretty cringy at times. As for the supporting cast, yeah, they're just there to make this movie look good. The only function these characters serve is to either give expositions or to make hateful comments about the symbiotes and such. Especially this character, who's played by this guy. He's just your typical angry general who thinks he's right all the time.
There's an army coming that cannot be beaten.
Okay, seriously, is there a character in the Marvel Universe that he can play that isn't angry all the time? You know, someone who doesn't have anger management issues?
You want to get stuck reliving the same moment over and over forever or never having existed at all? I'm ready! You saved your own life and then whined about it like a wounded dog!
Shut up!
Oh, by the way, the Lizard was also in this film. And he's just there for the sake of cameos. And Lord knows he's not the only one.
Ralph Boner?
Boner.
That's just dumb. Anyways, as for our main villain, Null, played by Andy Serkis, he was barely in this movie, apparently. Most of the time, we see Venom evading these huge creatures who are basically a mixture between xenomorphs and white spikes. I mean, don't get me wrong, the film does showcase what the villain is planning for and such, but when you get down to it, the villain, his plans, and his creatures are all just so generic. Oh, and do you want to hear something else? It turns out Andy Serkis was interested to direct the third movie, but was unable to do so due to his commitments to Animal Farm, which will release in 2025. So screenwriter Kelly Marcel took over as director for this movie, and Serkis would go on to provide the voice for Null. So he returned to this third movie not as the director or a producer, but as a voice actor for this character Null, who we barely see in this third final installment of the Venom franchise. That sounds pretty harsh when you put it like that.
Yeah!
Oh, and as for the action was pretty fun and entertaining, but not as nearly as intense or life-threatening because, thanks to the first film, we all know Eddie Brock isn't going to die. As for the CGI for the Venom character looks good at times. But on the other hand, the CGI can look pretty awful at times. But then again, we're talking about a Marvel movie here, so we should probably get used to it by now, don't you think?
Yep.
Now as for the story, it barely has a 3-act structure, the pacing was surprisingly fast, it had this one character that contributed nothing to the story, the film never did explain what happened to Eddie's supposed love interest, and lastly, the ending of the story left me with nothing to gain from. And when you consider how the movie ended, what's gonna happen to Null now? Is he going to sit in the back corner until we need him in Avengers Secret Wars or something? Like what? Seriously, what was the point of all that?
Nothing!
Overall, my friends, I think it's pretty safe to say that we're not gonna get any more Venom movies after this. When you consider how things are going within the MCU, I don't think it matters anymore whether or not Venom is going to make an appearance next to Spider-Man or something. And even if he does, it just wouldn't work. It would be awkward and cringy. Heck, the last 3 films have been nothing but awkward and cringy. But I will say this though, despite the setbacks and the failure to meet our expectations, I gotta give Tom Hardy props for giving it his all for this role. And honestly, I think he deserves a freaking award after all of this. With all that said, I give Venom: The Last Stand a 6.5 out of 10. Well, the film is called The Last Stand, so here it is.